Bobby, 明けましておめでとうございます。
明けましておめでとうございます。今年もよろしくお願いします。
こちらこそこれで。A very nice, a very friendly way to start 2021. Thanks, everybody, for tuning back in this year. We want to start by thanking not our corporate sponsors, but trust us, they'll be back, but all the people that have recently decided to support the show financially.
And not just because we're still on Shogatsu mode and we're too lazy to write an advertisement, because we got so much support on our Buy Me a Coffee page that it's going to take us a little while to thank everybody, but we want to make sure we do it.
So, starting with Lawrence in Kyoto, the guy who joined the Zoom Christmas party episode from a train. He is a member. Thank you very much.
Ian bought us 3 coffees as a belated Otoshidama. Glenn in Oz also bought us 3 coffees. He's been binging since he heard me, and not you, on the Konnichiwa podcast.
Good for him. Pixel Maven is a member. Thank you very much. Also, Pat, thank you for becoming a member, Pat. Pat used to live in Shibuya, missed it dearly, and so the pod is a nice nostalgia, open bracket, river cruise trip.
Anne, who as our guest tonight became a member and claimed our first ever Japan by River Cruise merchandise sticker pack, which she would have gotten for free just by being a guest. So, sorry, Anne. Cloud, also at Chris Cloud, bought us 3 coffees. He says he usually doesn't care for cishet white guys, but he thinks we're actually hella chill. And also, he's proposing in a month. Congratulations / good luck.
Good on him.
Wait, no. I'm proposing in a month. Let me change that to congratulations, maybe.
Oh, yes, we don't know how it went, but we assume it went well. Anyway, thank you very much for supporting us. We genuinely appreciate it. Thanks to Brian Waters, who bought 5 coffees. That's a lot of coffee.
That's like the third time he's bought us 5 coffees. Thank you, Brian.
He should become a member, really. He should just become a member. He'll get some bonus bits. Natasha, who bought a coffee, saying all the masturbation jokes were a pleasure. That's witty. We like it. Thank you very much, Natasha.
She might be referring to the Christmas episode because there were a lot of them, but I think she's probably referring to our entire career of episodes.
Yeah. Also, Brian in Seattle has bought us 3 coffees. We're very, very glad.
And Louis Prawn became a member and wrote this insane paragraph that
it's insane.
We'll tweet out
it's
at
mad.
some point.
Yeah, if you want to see it for yourself, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/Japan by River Cruise. It's anyone that was there for the live recording and could see what he was doing on Zoom will understand that. Like,
you will look at this paragraph and you'll go, yeah, that tracks.
Yeah, that makes sense. By the way, you can watch the video of the live stream if you become a member. We've posted that, so there we go. And also there's a section while Bobby is trying to say something serious, and I just cannot stop looking at whatever Lewis is doing on the webcam. So that's worth watching. Me trying to maintain professionalism while watching like a frog somehow do something weird with an Imperial Asahi can. All odd stuff. Anyway, we appreciate your support.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks so much. Genuinely, we cannot do the show without your support. We've started this episode this way. For anyone who's not a member or anyone who's just joined the podcast, we understand this is boring, but it's really important to us to thank you because without you guys, we simply couldn't do it. If you'd like to join and become a member, you'll get an episode every single week, just like everyone else. The podcast is free. We want it to be accessible. Plus, you'll also get some bonus material, which doesn't make the main episode. Plus, where we can, we will release the episode early to you. And if we hit our monthly goal of $250 a month, that's it. Very humble little goal there. We will do a monthly Zoom Nominkai hosted by either Bobby or me, or both of us together if we're getting on that day, for everyone who is a member. We look forward to doing that when we reach our goal. If you'd like to help us do it, then please do. Until then, let's play the jingle and start the first episode of 2021. Brian-san, 今年もよろしくお願いします。
Hello, Brian, and welcome back to Japan by River Cruise. I'm Bobby Judo.
And I'm Ollie Horn.
And joining us this week is Ann Kilzer, co-founder of Speaker, software engineer at Mercari, and creative director of the Tokyo Wan Ferry, Japan's first cruise ship for dogs. Ann, thank you for being here. Can we call you Ann, or should we use your full name, which I believe is Brian?
Did you mean Brian? Yeah, just call me Ann for now.
I knew I was going to pronounce that wrong. On this week's show, we talk about the various ways to find jobs and get visas in Japan, which might seem kind of mean-spirited considering that if you're not here right now, you literally can't do any of that. But hey, If the entry restrictions ever get lifted and you don't mind knowing that you'll be a second-class citizen, some of it might be useful eventually. Plus, Ollie's got your weekly river cruise recommendation. Ollie?
Yes, Bobby. This week's recommendation is the Asahi Factory Boat Tour in Sumida, Tokyo, their headquarters. The boat actually floats on the actual vats that store the beer, and passengers are invited to help create Asahi's distinct flavour by pissing overboard.
Also, we went on Lucky Waters Nagano's first ever Fukubukuro river cruise. The owners told us that they've always wanted to incorporate the New Year shopping tradition of buying items unseen in lucky bags, but because you can't bag up an entire riverboat, they had to settle for having the passengers themselves enjoy the cruise while hermetically sealed in opaque plastic. Cruises last as long as you can hold your breath. More on that later, but first, Soap Talk.
Anne, thanks for joining us again. You were one of the Bryans who joined us on our live Japan by River cruise over Christmas, so thank you for coming back aboard. It's been now 2 weeks since we've released a show. Bobby, has anything notable happened in the intervening fortnight?
Well, yes, 2020 is over, and because it's over, now everything is good, apparently.
That's good.
Right? 2021,
Yes.
everything's great. And you were here with us for Christmas,
Yes.
and now you're on our first show of the new year. Does anybody have any good New Year's resolutions they want to share?
I don't know if I have a resolution so much as maybe just some goals. I think this year I'm trying to not put too much pressure on myself given the pandemic, but I'm trying to remind myself to be kind and patient with other people. So that's my New Year's goal.
That's too nice.
Yeah, I did the exact opposite. I put a ton of pressure on myself this year. We're going to try to fix everything that went wrong last year.
Well, I play a lot of violent video games if it makes you feel better. So, yeah.
What about you, Ollie?
Well, I don't have resolutions. And in fact, the only thing which I've decided to do is focus on my habits. Because I realized that, like, anytime I've decided to do anything, it doesn't happen. But what does happen is my habits compound. And occasionally I have a good habit and that compounds to something good. So all I'm trying to do is, like, suppress my bad habits to the extent to which that the positive habits can somehow let something good happen.
Yeah.
I know that's a bit of a wanky answer, but that is true. Also, I mean, some other positive goal that people are happy. I want to create a vaccine for the coronavirus.
I don't have anything that ambitious, but I started writing a book last year. Last year I passed my 10-year anniversary of being on TV in Japan, and I thought it'd be interesting to start kind of like putting together a memoir about it. And I did. I got just over 100 pages, and this year I was like, I really want to complete it. And so I sat down to look at it today and was like, you know what? Just to kind of light a fire under myself, I should query a publisher. And I got a response, and they were like, yes, can you send us the manuscript? So now I have to finish it.
You're like, no, I just want to publish a book. I don't want to write the book. Your approach to publishing is like Trump's approach to the presidency. He wants to be the president, but he doesn't want to do the job of the president.
Yeah.
You want to have written an excellent bestseller.
You could put a lot of pictures in it.
I just wanted to feel better about myself. I didn't want you to make me do work.
I'll tell you what has made me feel good about myself. Anytime which I felt a bit sad about the fact that all of the predictions about the virus being over in a matter of months, and then a matter of a few more months, and then things getting worse, and then watching my own country turn into virus island from afar, and just seeing through reported speech on Twitter the rhetoric of, well, now Brexit's happened, we can close our borders, and Britain not closing its borders to international passengers, meaning that the numbers of COVID cases continue to go up. After feeling quite sad that I'm still in Malaysia, for anyone that's interested, the Malaysian government have given a visa reprieve for another 3 months anyway for anyone who wants to stay here, which I'm very grateful for. The one thing I must say that has made me feel very connected is the fact that we're continuing to do this, and that I can continue to be creative and do creative things from afar. So everyone that listens to this, I do genuinely appreciate it. We've already thanked you at the start of the show if you're a monthly member, but anyone that has listened to anything that I do, anything I've put online, I'm very grateful for. And actually, I've kickstarted my mailing list again, so Bobby won't mind me doing a little plug. If you go to olliehorn.com, I send an email occasionally, and sometimes it's quite funny. So if you want non-River Cruise related content from me, that's where you'll find it. Not true, by the way. We'll discuss this when we're not in front of the children. Well, not true that you don't mind me saying it. Oh, no, yeah.
That was the joke.
Anyway, one goal I have for 2021, which we've said before, is I want to get back into Japan. I've not been to Japan now for a long time.
Yeah.
We dearly want to meet some of the listeners. I mean, it's weird to believe that I started this podcast after I left Japan. Right, this my exit of Japan predates this show, and so I dearly want to get back, meet some of you, maybe do some live podcast recordings. That is a goal for 2021. But in order to do that, the borders will need to be reopened, and I might need to get myself a visa, which is broadly what we're going to be discussing in the news. So, Bobby, shall we take a look at, for the first time in 2021, the news? Bobby Judo, what's in the news this week?
Well, anybody who's been following Japan news, especially coronavirus news over the last couple of weeks, has seen that one of the ways Japan has reacted to a huge spike in corona numbers is it's been to shut down their borders, crack down on entries, and suspend all new visas. So in light of the fact that you can't currently get into Japan, we thought it would be a great time to talk about how we all have jobs in Japan and give you advice that, given the situation, amounts to basically rubbing your nose in the fact that we're here and you're not. As Ali mentioned earlier, if anybody wants to invent their own vaccine, I'm sure they'll let you in. But other than that, we wanted to kind of try to do a little bit of an
sell
evergreen.
the vaccine. Have you heard this news?
I did.
There's a black market now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tokyo companies and big Japan companies, people are getting under-the-table vaccines.
I didn't even realize it had been approved here yet.
Yeah, bad, isn't it?
No, well, that's why it's under the table.
Oh, goodness.
So yeah, that's what we want to talk about this week. If you want to move to Japan, how do you get into Japan? And I mean, firstly, the question is, why would you want to? I mean, we've spent so much of last year talking about what a hard time people have when they're there.
Well, that was the joke that I made in an old episode about how, I applied for permanent residency now. Once it's become abundantly clear that it means nothing.
Yeah.
It does mean one thing for me. Just having gone through a job search and having risked my visa to stay here, it means a little more job security for me. But it also means that I might not want to leave the island or the islands. And yeah.
Right.
But it's on my list of something to look into in the next year.
This whole corona pandemic situation and the entry crackdown situation and the immigration situation has just added this extra level of frustration for me with the microaggression where Japanese people go so are you going home? When they ask you if you're going home for the holidays, if you're going home for Christmas, or it's one of those things that I deal with every year where already it's frustrating because I'm not going home. This is my home, and I don't celebrate Christmas. I'm Jewish. But this year, there was literally no decrease in the number of people asking me, so you going home for the holidays? It was no, I
like
can't.
that you call it a microaggression. I hadn't used that term, but it feels exactly like that. I mean, it's more that I'm having the conversations with my parents now. What happens if someone dies? What happens? Because I might not be able to leave Japan. And my mom was actually don't. But it's a hard conversation to have with your parents.
Yeah.
I mean, I love them deeply, but I'm very far away from them.
It really is. And we had this on a previous show. We actually had testimony from someone who kindly agreed to be recorded of basically she couldn't go back to her father's own funeral back in France because of these restrictions.
But if things ever do go back to normal and you still want to come over here, we wanted to talk a little bit about the different paths to be able to do that. Ali, originally you came over on a student visa.
Yes, well, I was on a bit of a weird visa category. I think I was called a Kenkyusha or Kenkyusei, one of those two words, which is a lot more easily renewable. So unlike if you join a language school where there's...
It's a researcher.
Yeah, researcher, yeah. And unlike if you join a language school, it's a lot easier to kind of renew it for 6 months at a time, or I think up to 1 year at a time. And it was also tied to the MEXT program, which is the Japanese government kind of funding for postgrads.
Right.
And so there came a point where I'd basically finished my graduate thesis and I was doing more and more work kind of in the media. And I looked into all the different visa paths. I also had my startup as well, so I was thinking maybe I register a company. And in the end, what I found was that by far the simplest thing to do was to stay on that track. And so my faculty gave me a once a week kind of job, kind of a teaching adjacent position. And so I managed to stick on that for an extra, I think, 18 months, which was great. But some of the other tracks which I could have explored were setting up a company, which is doable. You need a certain amount of capital. And there are some rules about having to employ Japanese people, native Japanese people, not just people with Japanese visas, but native Japanese, which I always found a bit odd. And so all that stuff is doable, and particularly in cities like Fukuoka, there's people there to help you. And so that's kind of what I was considering. But one thing I wasn't considering was the entertainer's visa, because it's really, really, really hard to get. And I think a lot of people that are in entertainment tend to be on a different track.
Yeah, they check to see whether or not you're entertaining.
Yes, which I would have. Actually, that's funny. They don't. That's one of the things they don't check. But one of the things they do, because we looked into this, because after I left the country, I was offered the job of opening for Jim Gaffigan in Tokyo.
Yeah.
That was booked through Live Nation. And in the end, it couldn't happen because we couldn't get the paperwork done in time. But in order for that to happen, you need to be a company that's registered in Japan, right? And you need to have been dealing with entertainers for something like 5 years. And you need to be submitting all these documents. So in order to sponsor an entertainer's visa for me to come back in the country and perform, it needs to be through a local kind of production company that meets this crazy high standard, that they have all these inspections. And so it just happens so rarely. And the costs associated with getting these visas are so high, it's only worth it if it's for someone very, very highly paid, such as Jim Gaffigan and not his opener. Or, someone that's, say, on a year-long contract at Universal Studios, let's say.
Yeah. You mentioned the researcher visa was the easiest path to just maintain that. And I do want to mention that I've heard from other people in the past, from graduate students from different Asian countries, that the problem with the researcher visa is that you're totally at the mercy of your school. And especially for some of the Asian countries, they can be exploitative. Like you said, you can just renew it every 6 months. But from some of the stories I heard, it was more like you could renew it every 6 months as long as your university still wanted to exploit you, as long as they still had a use for you.
Well, yes. I mean, I thankfully, I never had that kind of dynamic, and I had a very good relationship with my faculty, and they were very supportive of me, sticking around, and I tried to make myself useful. But yes, I've certainly heard stories like that. And also, there are limitations on how much you can work, right? You can only work up to 20 hours a week on this visa. You need special permission, which again, for someone like me, that didn't bother me too much, because I was doing relatively high-paying work for a short amount of time, doing entertainment stuff, on the radio or adverts or whatever. But certainly I know in order for people to get around this, what they do is, some people are hired in a slightly exploitative way under the table doing pot washing and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, what I would say is for me, the way I got into Japan was completely above board, and I would recommend it. It's going through the MEX program. They pay for your flight in, they support you well when you're there. And if you have a good relationship with your faculty and you're doing something useful, you're extremely free. I could have taken a master's course if I wanted. I could have done a research project if I wanted. I could have taken undergrad courses if I wanted. Really, you can kind of shape your own future. And I'm very glad that I had a relationship with people who allowed me to not only do my academic stuff, but also, I had time to do some interpreting for some lawyers in a court, and I had all this time to then do all the entertainment stuff as well.
Well, you came over on that track. I came over on the English teaching track, which I think, if you have time to check out the extras, we talked about how a lot of people, come over on an English teaching track or on a student track and use that as their in to get into Japan. And now I've got a marriage visa, which is a route that a lot of people take just because they want to be here. In my case, I'm proud to say that it's not. We actually didn't want to get married and apply for a marriage visa until I had a 5-year validity on a different visa, just because I hated that idea of people thinking that we'd gotten married for the visa. But the reason that we wanted to talk to Ann in this specific episode is because she's the only one of us who has the experience of coming over without a work visa and then finding a sponsor while in country.
Yeah, it is. I did something really strange. I don't necessarily recommend it, but I think it's an interesting story. It was the right choice for me, and I'd like to qualify it with, I'm a person of certain privilege, I'm white, I work in tech, and I had, I guess, the financial means to sustain myself a couple months to do this crazy thing. But I was in this place where I was kind of unhappy. I had been at a previous company. I had been in Japan briefly with Indeed. I wanted to come back. I ended up quitting that job and just coming out here on a one-way ticket. But I quickly learned you can't get in on a one-way ticket. You need a ticket out. They don't want people doing the things I did. So, but your ticket doesn't have to be back. It just has to leave the country.
Yeah.
The one-way ticket is such a trope in movies, isn't it? But as a screenwriter, it's like, she goes in on a one-way ticket, but then the very next scene is an immigration official going, I'm sorry, that's not allowed. I'm sorry, no matter how romantic it seems.
I think that's actually kind of what I was doing, though. I was unhappy, and I was doing some, like, self-help things, and some of them were honestly saying, like, just make it happen, tell yourself you've done it. And I was kind of trying to write an interesting story with my life. So I was like, I'm gonna do this. But before you do that, you don't just do that. You have to do all this detachment and things. I mean, I got rid of 80% of my belongings. I had been trying to interview from afar, but it just wasn't working. It felt like people didn't take me seriously. And they said, well, you're an engineer. Okay, but why are you coming to Japan? And they didn't believe me until I got here. And when I got on the ground, somehow people took me seriously.
I think that makes a big difference, but I do also want to raise this point, especially in light of recent news, that you talk about, having to detach or leaving a previous job or, getting rid of most of your stuff, all this preparation that goes into making that move. That is the reason that so many people are struggling and feeling so much frustration with the suspension of new visa granting and with the immigration crackdown. And I don't think it's always necessarily because everybody goes, I want to go to Japan and I'm upset that I can't do what I want to do. It's because they've invested so much in it.
100%. And there's a huge opportunity cost as well, isn't there?
And that isn't to say that they should be allowed in because of that, but I do feel like they deserve a little bit of empathy.
I mean, it's a sort of a metaphorical death of, like, letting go of your old life. And I can only imagine having to prolong that for a year or more would just be agonizing.
Yeah. You'd already committed to buying a return ticket that you weren't planning on using, and then you didn't get to use either of the tickets.
I never went to Vancouver. No, I didn't.
But certainly, when I think about when I joined this program in Japan, at that point in my life, I was extremely ambitious, and I had like 3 different backup choices, and I would be really annoyed if I'd, committed to going to Japan, made all these preparations and said no to other things. So yeah, I do agree that, like, my view is actually, like, we are in the middle of a global health crisis, and so it's absolutely fine for countries to make decisions that prioritize the health of everyone rather than people's individual circumstances. So that is my view, and it doesn't seem like a particularly popular view. But on the other hand, absolutely, I do have sympathy for people who, have made a big life commitment to go to Japan, and then literally 3 or 4 days later are told, sorry, the rules have now changed, when they themselves don't pose any greater threat to the health of the country than they did 3 days before, because they still would have had to have tested and isolated and whatever. But Anne, I'm interested about this idea of you kind of going without having a job in place, because this is kind of what people don't advise, right? I mean, firstly, we should say that not everyone can do this. For many countries in the world, if you have a passport, you can't just turn up to the country. You need to apply for a visa, and it's very specific that you're not allowed to job hunt on the tourist visa. So on the one hand, you're lucky that you have a passport that allows you to rock up, and you don't have to you don't have to leave straight away. You can stay for, is it 3 months? Renewable
3
up
months.
to 6 months in theory?
90 days. And so I came on February 14th, 2018. I guess I just wanted to miss Valentine's Day, and I landed to a bunch of nice lines at the Godiva, and lived in Sakura House in Shibuya for a couple months.
What's that?
It's a Sakura House really helped. It's a foreigner-friendly share house and apartment network, and basically it's very hard to rent in Japan if you're not a resident. They want to see your resident card. It takes months, and this is a place that just says, you can pay with a credit card. We just want to see your passport. And it works a little more internationally friendly, and it's
more like a hotel then.
Yeah, except the share house is kind of nice because you get to meet some people, and you get to live with people that are really interesting. So I lived with a bunch of German women, and I can speak German, so actually what we do is gossip in German. And we also had a rat in our share house, so it was a bit a bit much.
Well, that's
at
par
first.
for the course for Shibuya.
Yeah, the Shibuya's got a rat problem, but, it wasn't the nicest house, but the people were wonderful.
The rat thing, it just reminded me when we first started trying to put together a Comedy Japan and do like regular jokes to put out like social media content. One of the first jokes that we ever did was they started a hedgehog cafe. A hedgehog cafe wasn't that innovative. Shibuya had already been doing rat bars for years.
They had the Rat Family Mart. I think it got shut down.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Yeah.
We'll leave that topic to the Konbini boys. So you arrive. Hey, let's check out this hall. It's a rat. So you arrive, vaguely knowing that you want to do a job in tech because you're an experienced engineer. There's a certain profile of job which you wanted. So this wasn't the case of someone who just graduated from college going, I just want to have some formative experience. I don't care what I do. I just want to be in Japan. You kind of were going, yeah, there's a reason I want to be in Japan. And listen to the extras, by the way. It's a very interesting reason. But also, you're not just going to give up on your well-paying, stimulating job in tech.
I honestly, I had a timer in my head, and it was about at 6 weeks. That was about the halfway point where I was like, actually, this is the point where I start looking for English teaching jobs.
It's so funny, though, because I kind of feel like we're treading on really thin ice here because I'm sure we have a lot of people who listen to the show who are English teachers in Japan. But that idea of like English teaching as your last resort, as your fallback, you're like, well, if nothing else in my life works out, at least I could teach English.
No, I don't want to say that's easy or something. And I mean, there's probably a lot.
I'm not implying that that's what you're saying. That's what I think on a regular basis.
That's what everyone thinks. And,
okay.
And it is, man. It's such a shame because like teaching is such a noble profession, and if there's one thing that Japan is constantly criticized for, it's the level of English ability of Japanese people compared to the quality of all their other education. And like English teachers can fix that if only they were given just slightly more money and, dare I say, a little bit more respect. But they're not, and we have to deal with that. And if you're an English teacher listening to this, we respect you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I only know secondhand. One of my share housemates was a wonderful woman from Germany. She's trilingual. She's fluent in English, almost native, and was teaching English. And she had stories. It was hard work.
The main problem is, and this reminds me of my friend Nick Milnes' joke, which is, I knew when I was in Asia, I knew that I had what it takes to teach English. It's all up here. White skin. And that, unfortunately, is the hiring policy of many places. They take on people who look like they're an English teacher without the skills.
That's why it's a last resort and a fallback option for everybody, because the sad truth is in Japan, you don't have to be good at it for you to make a living at it.
I think we're all a little naive when we come to Japan. There's a lot we don't know until you live here.
Well, how did the process work? Like, how did you go about looking for jobs? I mean, I think Ali and I never really had to go through like a job hunt process. So the extent of my knowledge is like, I'm aware that gaijin pot is a thing.
The two places, maybe three places I would look for a job as a tech person or an engineer is Paul McMahon runs this site called Tokyo Dev. And it's really great because not only does it have job listings, but it also has it has a lot of information on different types of visas for engineers. And he's just really transparent. So that's a really great resource. I think LinkedIn is decent. And if you find the right recruiter, be choosy. Not all recruiters are going to be super helpful, but there's a couple that will do great things for you if you can work together well. And then the third is just networking, asking people.
How much of an essentiality is Japanese ability, would you say?
And this is, again, the privilege coming in. It's pretty low in tech. There's a lot of Western companies here that you don't need to know any Japanese, or you need to know very little. I used to work at Indeed, and, they hire a lot of people, and there's a lot of great opportunities at that company. You don't need to speak Japanese. Google, Amazon, these big tech companies, startups. The first startup I worked at was founded by some Canadians. And I'm at Mercury now.
Okay, I just Googled Amazon. What did you want me to do next?
All right, close your tabs.
It looks like it's a rainforest.
Let's see. I'm currently at Mercari, and this company is really interesting because they don't. They haven't officially chosen a language.
Oh, you're at Mercari. That's why you wanted me to close the Amazon tab.
And I kind of like it because they're really allowing it to be bilingual, and they offer a lot of support and Yasashi communication training. I know you did an episode a while back on Yasashi communication, and that was really cool.
Yeah.
So we got the official training at work, and I actually shared your podcast.
You get extra points. Ollie, make a note. She gets
Thank
extra
you.
points.
Hey, thanks very much for listening to this episode 66 of Japan by River Cruise. Don't forget, we have a mailing list at japanbyrivercruise.com. We send a monthly roundup of all the best bits.
Thank you so much to our guest this week, Ann Kilzer. It was a pleasure talking to you. We'd love to have you back sometime.
Thanks for having me. And yeah, for any women interested in public speaking or who already do public speaking, please check out speakher.jp. We'd love to add you to our database to help spread the word about great speakers in Japan.
Thanks very much, and we will see you guys next week.